Marvel's Spider-Man has been out for a week, and after spending more time with the game and completing most of what's currently available, I wanted to make a video discussing my final thoughts and predictions about future content. This video will be spoiler-filled, so if you haven't gotten a chance to finish the game yet, come back when you do, so you could add to our discussion. If you've watched my review, two of my main criticisms were that the game was too easy and borrowed heavily from the Arkham Batman games. These two things were more personal preference, and you as a player might thought these were the game's strengths. In the end, most game reviews are subjective, so I encourage everyone interested in the game to check it out as unbiased as possible. After my review, I thought more about how many things that the Spider-Man game takes from Rocksteady's Arkham games, and if the Spider-Man game should be receiving the praise that it's getting from critics and fans alike. If I didn't know better, I would assume that they were made by the same developers. In the end, I think it does do enough to distinguish itself and for it not to always be compared to the Batman games, from its story, side quests, minigames, and much more. The contrasting tone of the two games, with Gotham being dark and gritty, while Spider-Man's world is more colorful and humorous, sets the games drastically apart. What Insomniac does right, that Hollywood is constantly messing up on with superhero movies, is that they know who Peter is as a character, and all the other characters are also developed and given the motivation to do what they do. What I love about the game is that they could have played it safe and made a generic superhero games for kids, but right off the bat they jump into the Sinister Six storyline. While Peter has matured and is no longer a teenager, he still has his sense of humor and struggles with MJ that is faithful to his character. The game is packed with Easter eggs that I'm sure people will still be discovering for months to come, and Jameson's dozens of rants are laugh-out-loud funny and reflect what you do in-game.
Folks, I have received unsettling reports of Spider-Man in our public parks, where children play, apparently stalking pigeons. Yes, wild pigeons. You may wonder if he's gone insane, a perfectly valid question, but have you heard of the Goliath bird-eating spider? I'll spare you the gory details, but it's a spider big enough to devour birds. Now, Spider-Man sticks to walls like a spider, he jumps like a spider. What else does he do like a spider?
The game is also being praised for the diversity of characters. There are noticeably a lot of Asian characters and NPCs, and as an Asian guy myself, I was thinking how it's rare to see Asian characters depicted realistically in games. I'm not counting anime or stylized characters that are assumed to be Asian because of their name, but characters that actually look Asian. Martin Lee isn't the best villain, but I did like what they did with the character, using a top-notch voice actor, and with the whole demon backstory that his father told him about. The idea of masks and superheroes or supervillains go in hand, and I like Mr. Negative overall.
We'll be right next door. Just relax and let the medicine do its work.
宝贝，不要担心，不要害怕，妈妈在。
这个会治好你，放心。
发生了什么事？怎么可能？给妈妈呼吸！
I thought this was just a consultation. Boys seemed ready. I'm going in there. No, you can't. It's too late. Make it stop. What have you done?
I like how this game wasn't marketed as a diverse or all-inclusive cast. It didn't seem at all out of place, shoved down your throat, or reduce the quality of the game in any way. It wasn't just Spider-Man saving Asians from car accidents either, but reflects the diverse population of New York and its cultures. People aren't upset about this because they're not taking established characters and turning them Asian. Imagine the uproar if they changed the Vulture or Rhino into an Asian guy. Now I have to talk about that ending. Another spoiler warning, last chance if you want to see it for yourself. The ending did surprise me in two ways: Aunt May's death and Harry being kept alive in Norman's apartment. You can see that Norman is already producing the iconic bombs that the Green Goblin uses.
What are these things? Prototype hand grenades?
and by the end of the game we are told he is ousted as the mayor as details come to light after the battle with Doc Ock.
You know, looking at the dark days just behind us, most of the people involved have faced consequences. Otto Octavius is in prison. Mayor Osborn resigned in disgrace. Escapees from Rikers continue to be rounded up. The remaining demons and Wilson Fisk's men are fighting over scraps.
I think the game can go two ways for the sequel. The obvious one is that Harry is the Green Goblin and turns evil due to his physical and mental change. Or the other option is that Norman is the one to become the Goblin. Both have been done in the comics and the movies, but in my personal opinion, I can't see how Harry, who is built up as a kind, hardworking person to protect the legacy of his mother, is going to become the Goblin.
I just posted a new article. Oscorp announced Harry's research stations are providing valuable data, so they're fully funding them.
You're kidding. That's great. I just wish we could tell Harry.
I know. I haven't been able to find out where they're treating him. I can't confront Norman about what we know without admitting to breaking and entering.
Well, wherever he is, Harry's getting the best care. Whatever his faults, Norman loves his son. And his mom would be so proud. He really stepped up for her.
You helped a little yourself, Tiger. You're a good friend.
So are you, MJ. And wherever Harry is, he knows that. Can't wait to read the article.
I think that Norman, now that he's disgraced after the ending to the game, and for the love of his son, turns evil to get revenge on Spider-Man for ruining his career and in his desperation to help Harry now that his work on the cure hasn't come to fruition. I was also shocked that they killed off Aunt May. I was expecting a happy ending where they get the cure and somehow mass produce it in minutes to save everyone affected by the virus. This game was more realistic and gave Aunt May a worthy end, while having an emotional impact. As Peter has to struggle to decide whether to save Aunt May or countless others with the antidote, in the end, the choice is obvious, but heartbreaking.
I did. And I am so proud of you. And Ben will be too. All the people you've saved.
I don't know what to do.
Yes, you do.
With the ending of the game showing Miles Morales gaining superpowers similar to Spider-Man, the ultimate question that follows is if Peter is going to die in this storyline. In the original comics, Miles takes over for Spider-Man after his death due to the hands of the Green Goblin. However, we can already see that the storyline does not follow the events in the original comics. In the comics, Miles does not reveal his identity as Spider-Man and initially doesn't want to risk his life as a crime fighter. He only dons the mask after witnessing Spider-Man's death and feeling guilty for not doing anything to help. One story in the comics involving Miles also includes Gwen Stacy, who is not introduced in the game. In the game, Peter seems to be more of a mentor to Miles and has more of a personal relationship. This will ultimately give more weight to the conflict if the Green Goblin does kill Spider-Man. Will Insomniac Games save this for part 3 of the trilogy, or already have plans for it in the next sequel? Because the game is an adaptation of Spider-Man's story and does not follow the storyline of any particular comic, they can literally do anything with the characters. But based on what they did with this first game, I'm sure it will heavily rely on the canon already established. From here, I'll discuss what we know of the DLC plans coming this year for the game. From the info already out, we know that the first DLC for this game will feature the Black Cat, titled The Heist, releasing on October 23rd. After doing all the optional Black Cat photo locations, we are left with a scene and dialogue of Felicia retrieving her gear after setting up Peter on the diversion to collect the Black Cats.
Spider-Man, the Black Cat just robbed the police department's evidence lockup.
What? How? That place is like Fort Knox.
All those cats you found? When they were all together in the evidence room, they linked up, boosted their signal, and deactivated the alarms. No one even saw her sneak in.
She knew I'd find the cats and report them to you. She played me, again. What'd she take?
Just her old costume and gear.
She let me find 50 million worth of loot just so she could get her stuff back. Which means she's got something even bigger planned.
Wow. Gotta give her credit. She played you good.
From the sound of it, you'll probably be teaming up with the Black Cat to take down a villain, while she has some ulterior motives on the side. The second DLC, releasing sometime in November, is called Turf Wars. I have no idea what this could be about, but I'm thinking it has something to do with the Kingpin. Knowing that his arrest has caused the crime to go out of control in the city and allow for the rise of the demons to move in. Instead of this, I would like to see something released related to the Taskmaster. With Martin Lee gone, the demons should be collapsing, and with Silver Sable gone by the end, her mercenaries are also pretty much taken care of by Spider-Man by the end of the game. They wouldn't introduce a new character just for the DLC based on the other two, and a character I want to see more of is the Taskmaster, and his mysterious offer to Spider-Man about some organization trying to hire him as part of a group.
School's out, Taskmaster. Why are you stalking me?
An organization hired me to see if you're worth recruiting.
I'd rather be Jonah Jameson's foot masseur than work for anyone who'd hire you.
Your loss. They pay 6 figures. Guess some people just deserve to be poor.
6 figures? Nah.
The third DLC targeted for December is titled Silver Lining. This obviously is a story about the leader of the contract security group that Osborn hires to protect the city, but mainly himself. Silver Sable abruptly leaves the game after Spider-Man's confrontation with Lee and Doc Ock. She talks to Peter over the phone saying that she will be leaving the city, but will be leaving her men behind. When we last see her, she agrees to help Spider-Man to protect Norman Osborn. She seems like a good person with morals, but will do the bidding of whoever hires her.
Spider-Man, hello.
Man, I gotta change this number.
I must leave New York. Recent events give me pause. Your rescue of Osborn, despite his hatred, it affected me. I must return home, reflect on this life I choose.
Dang. I think I'm actually gonna miss you and your Death Troopers.
Unfortunately, my agents will stay. Though I question our work, they do not. And Osborn continues to pay. I am sorry.
So close to being good news.
Indeed. I will miss you and your bizarre witticisms, Spider-Man. Until we meet again.
What a strange, violent lady.
Let's talk about where the game could go for future sequels post-DLC. Tackling the Sinister Six for the first game sets high expectations for the series. We know that the Green Goblin will be in the next game, but where do I think that they will go from there? I definitely think they will include a Venom, Carnage, or Symbiote storyline in the games to come. I think it's really odd that with all the costumes you can collect, none of them involve a suit or reference to Venom, while he is one of the most recognizable villains in Marvel. This proves that while 8 years have passed since Peter got his powers, Venom and the symbiotes have not yet made an appearance in this version of Spider-Man. In the game, Spider-Man references Flash Thompson, who in the comics later becomes Agent Venom. There is no reference of Eddie Brock from when Peter worked at the Daily Bugle, or any mention from NJ, who is now a reporter there. Therefore, Eddie must not have started working there yet, leaving his character open in the sequel. However, he may be left for another game down the line, because I hate it when movies or games introduce main characters in a sequel or franchise and invent backstory for them retroactively. If Insomniac Games has already planned for possible sequels to the game, it would make more sense if they focus fully on Norman, Harry, and the Green Goblin for the next game. Based on the post-credits scene of Harry at the end, it looks like Norman may already be experimenting with the symbiote, as seen by the way the fluid is reacting to Norman's hand. We know that Norman is already experimenting with Peter's blood to recreate the spiders in the lab, so this could be a new way to introduce the Venom symbiote without its origin from outer space. The final question on everyone's mind is, where are the Avengers? We know that the Avengers are in this version of Spider-Man, not only with the Avengers Tower, but is also referenced 2 other times that I can remember. The first is when the Taskmaster mentions he fought the Avengers when you encounter him the first time.
I know you! You were on my neighbor's porch for Halloween!
The name's Taskmaster, and you're about to get taken to school. I have a photographic memory. Anything I see you do, I can do.
So that's what that...
Yeah, I can also anticipate what you're gonna do. I've got toe-to-toe with the Avengers. You're
figure out this isn't working!
It's working great for me. I pick up more of your moves every time.
The second reference is made when Peter makes a remark along the lines of, "Do you think that the Avengers have to deal with petty crime?" You can also equip the Iron Spider suit created by Tony Stark and the suit from Spider-Man Homecoming, showing that Peter must have already had previous interactions with Iron Man. In my opinion, I like the references, but would prefer not to have the Avengers show up in the sequel or upcoming DLC. Unlike the MCU movies, these games aren't being used to promote an eventual Avengers game. I want the story and action to focus on Peter Parker and Spider-Man, since there is so much material and directions they can go in. I know that the comics always cross over with other superheroes all the time, and I'm curious about the comment the Taskmaster makes to Spider-Man after you finish his trials, that he works for someone that wants to recruit Spider-Man and is willing to pay lots of money. Thank you guys for watching, and I appreciate those making it to the very end of the video. If you like this type of video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave any questions or comments below. Check out my channel for more videos. See you guys again in the next video.